Okay, so welcome Instagram. Jason here, and bringing you another live morning meditation practice. We do this on both Instagram and YouTube every Tuesday and Thursday between 6:25. Excuse me, between 6:25 a.m. and 6:50 a.m. And today we have a very special practice. So, as you know, every Tuesday and Thursday we highlight a different type of meditation or maybe a culmination of meditation techniques. And there are an incredible number of techniques out there. And for different people, different practices will be effective. So for today's practice, we're going to focus on a technique that has been practiced out of India for thousands of years. And the technique is known as self-inquiry. Um, and just to explain self-inquiry, self-inquiry is our ability to understand the nature of our awareness, the nature of who we really are. And this is an incredible practice. We're going to focus the highlights of three different teachers. One teacher is going to be a teacher, well, two teachers, I believe, out of South India. We'll start with one, then we'll move into my teacher that I learned from. And then finally, we'll move into his teacher. So please stay tuned, join in, and if you watch the video or you don't have time to watch the video fully on your live chat, you can always watch the recap on YouTube. We do this every Tuesday and Thursday. So without further ado, let's begin. Okay, so for today's first technique, we will focus on the practice of a teacher by the name of Nisargatta Maharaj. And a brief story on this teacher: he was what typically is called somebody that doesn't devote their time fully to meditation and yoga, a layperson. He was someone that traveled from his duties as a family man, as a worker. He left, he went to find a teacher around where he lived, and then he spent some time practicing with him. He came back and then he taught these teachings. An incredible resource of his teachings, which is actually a manuscript of what he taught, is called I Am That. So this was a book. It was published, I believe, in the 70s or in the 80s. And it is a remarkable book. It's very effective, I found. They go into a lot of deep practices. So without further ado, his practice, I am that. So as you close your eyes and as you allow your attention to draw more inward, begin to let your attention focus on whatever the awareness focuses on. So for the most part, for most of us, it would be a thought or a sensation as the first thing. And as the attention moves there, just let this thought, this idea, I am that, come into your field of awareness. As you let that idea surface, this idea of being I am that, Aham Atma, which is Aham being I am, and Atma being eternal, being everything. So as things begin to surface up in your consciousness, in your attention field, you go to them and you just simply, you can say it internally, you can say it externally, I am that. Any feelings arise within the body, any sensations at all. And we've done several practices. If you've worked with any of the practices over the course of the past few weeks, maybe bringing one of those back, and I am that. Just maybe even a body awareness meditation where you observe the sensations on your body. Each sensation, I am that. Noticing maybe the back of the head, I am that. Noticing the top of the head, I am that. Noticing the forehead, I am that. The eyes, the ears, I am that. Taking the attention to the cheeks, the space above the upper lip, below the nostril tips, I am that. The lips, observing the chin, I am that. Taking the attention to the neck, the front of the neck, the back of the neck, I am that. The attention moves to the shoulders, the upper arms, triceps and biceps, I am that. Attention moves to the elbows, to the forearms. Attention moves to the wrists, the fingers. I am that. Attention moves to the chest, from the chest to the belly. I am that. Attention moves to the tops of the shoulders, the backs of the shoulders, the upper back. I am that. Attention moves to the mid back, to the lower back. Attention moves to the waistband. I am that. Attention moves to the top of the thighs, the inner thighs, the outer thighs. I am that. Attention moves to the backs of the thighs, the backs of the knees. Attention moves to the shins. I am that. Attention moves to the inner ankles, the outer ankles, the backs of the calves, the tops of the feet, the backs of the feet. I am that. And then any other sensations that arise in the body, I am that. So continuing to hold this space. And as the mind continues to wonder, as thoughts come up, I am that. Keep drawing your attention to the single thought, I am that. As many thoughts arise, as many sensations arise, maybe noticing those sensations, being with those sensations, and then coming back to this aspect, I am that. All of these things that arise and fall away in this practice of meditation, in this practice of self-inquiry, we move through all of them and we allow for our identity to become all of these things. Everything that arises. And even for a moment to transition from this form of meditation, if you'd like, you can allow your attention to expand to the room that you're sitting in, whatever room that is, and any objects that come up. I am that. If there's people in your life, people that come up, people that come to your attention, your forefront of your attention, I am that. And then anything else that arises in your life. This practice, even though it may not make much sense, especially initially, and I've worked with it many times, after you've done it for quite some time, eventually you fall into the space of everything that arises, everything at all. I am that. It eventually envelops all things so that there is no separation, no distinction between subject and object. All things are of the same manifestation. All things are of the same energy, this prana, this weightlessness, this beingness. Everything becomes that. So this practice that we started with, this was a practice by Nisargatta Maharaj. I am going to put this information up so you can look it up, you can check it out. It's a pretty incredible teacher. So we are going to move into our second practice of meditation, closing the eyes if you'd like. And this was a practice of meditation that was taught by my teacher. So just a short background, my teacher was a teacher who had also a what's considered a lay life or a family life, as we call it. He was in the military, and then he ended up, getting his doctorate, working as a technology, somebody that manages materials and eventually manages the whole technology commercialization for the school I went to, Pennsylvania State University. And he spent much of his time, aside from his normal life, practicing these practices. So this practice is one that I learned from him, and I'm sure he also developed it from other teachers. And this is one of also self-inquiry. So you'll close the eyes, you'll let the attention wander inward, and he would say, to start out, who hears these sounds? So if you are in a quiet room, if you are just listening to the voices that are coming through the phone, my voice, just being present for that, who hears this voice? And initially, obviously, the answer would be, I hear this voice, it's me. So this draws us deeper inward. So we listen and we observe and we notice, and then we go deeper into what is this nature of I. So this identity that we have, we started with the practice of I am that, which is everything. And then we move deeper into what is even the nature of this I. Does it have a form? So one of the practices that he continued to teach was just observing the nature of our thoughts. So as we move in and as we continue to observe the sensations in our body, the sensations of thoughts, are you controlling the thoughts that arise or the thoughts that fall away? So any thought, the next thought that arises in your mind, the next sensation that arises in your mind, is that something that you are creating, or does it just arise? And does it just fall away? Noticing the next sensation, the next feeling, the next thought. Did it just come, or is it something that we generated? The next feeling, the next sensation. Did you create that? Or is it just something that spontaneously arose? Yes, of course. There are things probably that happened before this moment that influence those things to arise. But did you choose to think about that thing at this particular time? Or did it just come up and you just noticed it. As a result of noticing it, all of a sudden we create the identity. This thought belongs to me. Or this sensation belongs to me. This energy belongs to me. And what happens if instead of attaching to those identities and thoughts, we allow them to come, we allow them to go, and we simply observe the space that is remaining? What is the nature of that space? The space that watches, the space that observes, the space that observes these sensations. And it could be a number of sensations that arise. It doesn't matter how many sensations, how many thoughts arise. What is the nature of them? Are they permanent? Do they last? Even one single thought that you have, if you write it down, for instance, and you observe that thought, you observe how it manifests into your life, is there change in that? Does that even change? Maybe a desire that you may have, maybe a desire for hunger or for water. Do those change with time? Do those thoughts change with time? Do those energies change with time? This was, like I said, the teacher of my teacher, Gary Weber, who I'll include a little blob on the comments section. So please feel free to comment if however you felt about these practices. These are been practiced for thousands of years. I'm really excited to know how these practices benefit you in your practice. The last practice comes from my teacher's teacher. Some say this teacher was the living embodiment of true beingness. He embodied such a clear space of being, and he really was what is described in many of the texts. Whether it's the text of Jesus, the text of Buddha, all of these different practices, he embodied the aspect of being. And this teacher's name is Ramana Maharshi. Ramana Maharshi, he is a teacher that came out of South India, and when he was very young, he had this realization that he was guided to this mountain, which in actuality, the mountain still resides in South India. It's called Mount Arunachala, and it's in Tiruvannamalai, South India. So the other thing to add on top of that is the logo that I chose to use for the brand of meditation or yoga, or it reminds me of that mountain. So the idea is that we continue to move towards these level of practices. His practice was one of asking, who am I? So similar to Gary's, where he says, who hears these sounds? Who am I? As you go deeper into your being, as you observe the nature of your thoughts, as you observe the nature of your senses, and don't go into them directly, just, who am I? Are these me? Who am I? Are you these thoughts? Are you these sensations? Are you these feelings? Who am I? What happens when you move deeply into your identity? Even deeper than you could ever imagine. You notice the job, you notice the family, you notice the sensations in the body, oftentimes the most real thing. You notice the all continuous thoughts that come and go, senses. Who am I? Are you these, or are you the nature that these things arise and fall back into? Even the sounds that arise, as Gary was emphasizing, these sounds, are those me? Or do they arise and then fall away, and arise and fall away? These sensations that arise, do they arise and fall away, and arise and fall away? These energies, do they arise and fall away, and arise and fall away? And then we close today's practice by taking our hands to Namaskar Mudra, just simply allowing this space of beingness to radiate through us as always, continuous, continuous. Letting the chin come down towards the chest, just to acknowledge your inner teacher, your inner being, your inner guru, what arises within you and falls away within you. And then gently lifting the head, opening the eyes. Thank you guys so much for tuning into today's practice. My name is Jason. We do this every Tuesday and Thursday between 6:25 a.m. and 6:50 a.m., both on Instagram and YouTube Live. The post cap or the recording, it resides on YouTube, so you're more than welcome to watch many times. If you like the video and you're watching on YouTube, please like, please comment, share any of these practices that you found beneficial, or if you've had some difficulty, feel free to share that as well. Anything that you believe is effective about your experience, and just seeing if you can really find the nature of how these practices work. And please continue to follow me, press the subscribe button and click on the little bell, and that will give you notifications every time that we do these practices. So once again, every Tuesday and Thursday we do different practices, and the idea is to really develop your own practice to find what practices most are effective for you. So have a great rest of your week, incredible rest of your day, and continue to practice. I'll close with a chant. Aham Atma Purakeshaha Sarva Bhuta Shayasata Aham Adishacha Madhyam Cha Bhutanam Antaha Eva Cha. So it says, I am the self who is always awake and resides in the hearts of all beings. I am the creator, the sustainer, the destroyer. I am everything, the self. Thank you so much, guys. Have a blessed week, and we'll talk soon. Namaste.